Hey everybody, what's going on? It is James here with Crypto Common Sense. Wanted to shoot a market update video for you. It is September the 4th, just after 1 p.m. Central Time, and Bitcoin is pumping like crazy these last couple of days. Before I jump into today's content, please remember it helps me out tremendously if you'll go ahead and give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also, don't be shy, leave a comment. Let me know, are you bullish, are you bearish, and why? So I'm going to go ahead and jump right into this market, and I'm going to say that this does not look good for me as a bear right now. I am still bearish on a macro level, but on a shorter time frame, I'm very, very nervous. Now, I'm not going to get shaken out because I have a stop loss and I have to let my stop loss do its job, but this does not look good for me. Let me show you what I'm looking at real quick. I'll turn on these. So there's two things I'm looking at, okay? Basically, to me, what I'm seeing, this looks very, very much like a cup and handle forming, and if so, it's going to have a target up around $12,100. Okay, that would be our cup and handle target. Now, draw that up real quick, so you can see that that's our range, and then we just simply drag that up to the bottom of the breakout. The top of the breakout. Would give us a target up around 12 grand. Now, a couple things about that target. Okay. Let's forget the cup and handle for just a second. Let me take it off the screen. You'll notice that I have these ghost bars sitting here. That's because we've actually had this happen before. What we had back over here, we had the same thing. We had this cup form, we had the handle come down, and then we had a lot of people going short right here around 10.7, and they got completely destroyed when this thing shot all the way up to 12.3. I was one of those people. I got destroyed on that move. I ended up losing almost 3% of my portfolio. There was the worst single trade I've done in the last, probably 18 months. Fortunately, I've made money on the way down, but it was painful. So I'm watching that closely, and if I just simply copy those bars over and put them over here, this is what it's going to look like. And ironically, it lines up almost perfectly with our cup and handle. And it's not just the price action that looks similar; it's actually the RSI. If you see here, we were overbought on the 4-hour. We came down. Basically came down right at 62, 63, right in that area. Watch, let's draw a line on it. Came down to this level, and then it absolutely rocketed up. This time we were a little more overbought, so that gives me a little bit of hope as a bear. But we came down in a very cliche manner, and we just tagged basically that exact same line of support, and we've got a really strong bounce off of it. So that's not looking good for a bear. Now, I want to be very clear and say that I don't feel like this is a reason to suddenly go long because there's a high chance that it's nothing more than a bull trap. But it's certainly a reason that if I wasn't short right now, if I wasn't in an open position, I would definitely not open a short at this level. I would rather miss the trade than get into a trade at this point. For me, I'm already in the trade. It is what it is. Had I been awake when this thing came down like this, there's a very good possibility that I would have closed the trade early and just eaten. I would have just taken the loss. I think at that point it was around $1,000 or $1,100 loss. I probably would have just taken that loss and said, you know what, I don't like the way this looks. I'd rather take my ball home and play another day. But I wasn't awake. By the time I woke up, it was already pumping. I went to bed a little after 5 a.m., so I didn't get up until a little after 11:30 a.m. And here we are. So that's kind of what I'm seeing on Bitcoin right now. In the shorter time frame, this thing looks really, really bad for a bear. Okay, there's just no other way to put it. It doesn't look good. I want to talk more about Bitcoin, but before I do, I want to show you the Litecoins, the same thing. I actually drew this chart up before I went to bed and posted it in my Facebook group. At the time, when I first drew it up, price had just hit $70.60. That's where it was sitting at. I hadn't quite topped out yet. And then I updated them right before I went to bed, and price was down in this area. This is playing out exactly how I expected, but I don't want this to play out this way, but this is kind of what the chart is saying. It disagrees with what I want. Basically, all it did was come down and test this 50 Fibonacci level, and this, again, looks like a cup and handle. It looks like it's going to go up. I'm not going to go long on it. This is actually what it looked like when I first posted it, and then before I went to bed, it looked like this. And, of course, now we can see that it looks like this. So it is playing out, pretty textbook. But the one thing that gives me a little bit of hope on this is cup and handles, typically speaking, aren't supposed to retrace more than 33%. It's not a hard, fast rule. It doesn't mean it can't retrace more than 33%. But in this case, it's way down here at the 50. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. Again, it could just be a big trap. I really don't know. Over on the Bitcoin chart, I drew this GAN box. Now, I want to be very, very clear about this. I am not an expert at these GAN boxes. I've only recently even started using them, and I think they're highly subjective, and they're highly, you can kind of manipulate them because you can move these bars around and still get them to line up fairly nicely, right? So I don't think they're perfect by any means. But I did find it very interesting when I drew this up that, the predicted pivot point, basically these vertical lines predict pivots, okay? So we did have a pivot on this vertical line. We had a pivot on this vertical line. We actually did have a pivot here. It was going down. It turned around, went up a little bit. Down here, we had another pivot. I wish I had drawn this up a couple of days ago because when I was, down here so excited to go short, I would have realized that we were due for a pivot of some sort. It would have saved me from getting in this really bad short position. But then we came up here, and yesterday, supposedly, was going to be a pivot day, right? Now, it still could be. We haven't went up and surpassed yesterday's high. This could be one big fake out. Time will tell. But I got to say that what I was concerned about yesterday before this candle even formed was a repeat of this candle right here, where we had a solid candle followed by, a long tail and then a rocket. And that is what we're getting. So far, we get the long tail. So the next 6 hours are going to be critical for Bitcoin. Now, couple things I want to say. Some new stuff I want to talk about. Okay, number one, chart aside for just a second. I want to say there's an actual reason that I'm so bearish overall on a macro level. Long term I'm a bull. I've said that many times in the past. But short term, meaning the next 6 months, I'm about as bearish as you can get. And there's a very simple reason for that. Charts aside, okay? If you look at total market cap, our total market cap is basically following Bitcoin exactly. The reason that it's following Bitcoin exactly is because new money, for the most part, is not entering this space. Now, some people are going to disagree with me, and they're going to say, James, there's all kinds of institutional investments, and there's this and this and this. Fine, I don't want to have an argument about it. You can have your opinion, I'll have mine. What I see is new money not entering the space, right? Retail investors especially are just not entering this space. So maybe people are entering, OTC, where it's not affecting the price so much. The retail investors are not pumping this price up. What's propping the price of Bitcoin up is very simple. It's the alts. What we have is we have people capitulating on their altcoins, and they're moving their money from alts back to Bitcoin. And when you do that, it drives the price of Bitcoin up. Eventually, people are going to run out of alts to sell, right? Eventually, the capitulation on alts is going to end, and when it does, you have to ask yourself, what's left to prop up the price of Bitcoin? And the answer is, unless new money is entering the space, Bitcoin is going to collapse like a house of cards, okay? And if you are a brand new investor to cryptocurrency, if you've never invested in cryptocurrency before, would you really be comfortable buying a Bitcoin for $10,000? And I think if you ask yourself objectively, I think you're going to answer that no. I would not be comfortable buying a $10,000 Bitcoin. Guys, I wasn't comfortable buying a $1,500 Bitcoin in 2017. My first Bitcoin was right around $1,500, and I was nervous as hell about it, and I had the money, right? I had a fairly successful business. $1,500 wasn't going to make or break me, and it still made me sweat, right? I didn't want to lose $1,500 on some weird coin, right? I knew nothing about it. So I can't see the average person ever putting $10,000 into Bitcoin or even $1,000 into Bitcoin when prices is as high as it is. It does need to come back down. The reason that corrections are healthy for markets, the reason pullbacks are healthy, is because it gives new people a chance to enter the space versus the same old money just wash trading. Right now we have a lot of wash trading, and that's why we have this sideways chop. Okay, so I want to talk about the descending triangle, and I want to talk about some bigger picture stuff. So yes, this descending triangle is still in play. It does have a top. Depending on how you draw it, it can have a top up around 11.1 up here. If you draw it a little differently, if you draw it using the candle closes, okay, well, I don't know where my chart went, so I apologize. Let me redraw it real quick. If you draw this using the candle closes instead of the wicks, what you actually get is a triangle that looks something like this, right? And you can see we had several false breaks above it, but essentially that's the top of the triangle, and that would put it up around $11,000. Very possible we come up and test that and go down. I also think it's possible that we break through that, and I'm going to tell you why. Because if this pattern plays out and this goes up to $12,000, we're going to see people get ultra bullish, right? We're going to see all the bears get bullish. We're going to see the bullish people start talking about new all-time highs, yada, yada, yada. But if we look at the volume, right? The volume on this rally is trash, right? Volume has been declining this whole time. Again, this goes hand in hand with the fact that new money is not entering this space. All we have is wash trading, right? And we have people capitulating from alts. That's what's going on right now, okay? In my opinion. But we can still go up to 12,000 and still have a significant drop. In fact, it would probably be heartbreaking just how bad it dropped if we do. Because if we look at it wick-off logic, right? If we look, I drew this up in my Facebook group. Let me show you what I think is happening right now, but I also want to show you what might be happening. By the way, if you look, interest in Bitcoin on Google, look at this. Down around the same levels it was back in April before this whole rally started. Interest in Bitcoin is dying all over again. This is the same thing we saw in the bear market. Interest went up, and then it died, and Bitcoin just kind of faded out. So this is kind of what I think is happening right now. I think this is kind of our wick-off pattern. It doesn't fit perfectly, but this is sort of what I'm thinking might be going on. You know, that we come down, we break the ice in this leg, come up, retest this old level of support, and then drop down to that $4,000 to $5,000 area. But I also think it's very possible, if you look at the wick-off pattern, if you actually look at it, the second, you know, this second peak over here, this high peak, it's actually supposed to be basically trying to retest the earlier peaks before you get your drop, okay? So it could very well be that what we're going to see is this come up, and that this is actually that second large peak in that wick-off pattern, and that then from here, we actually come up here, come down, have a little half-hearted rally, come down, come up test, and then end up looking at something like this. It could be that this is actually the pattern that plays out, because if you look at a wick-off pattern, it does look like a descending triangle at first, right? You got this flat bottom on it, and then you have this line coming down. It looks like a descending triangle, and then you have this break, but it's actually a false break. It's just one big bull trap before you collapse, right? You break out, you trap all the bulls, you come down, you know, you trap all the bears, come up, right? Liquidate the bears, and then collapse, right? Again, people go long here, you pop up, you liquidate the longs, right? And then you finally go down. And this pattern, it's not manipulation, it's just human psychology. It's got to do with the way people work mentally, right? They get really excited, but then when the rally fails, they panic and they start to sell, so it drives price down. Price comes down, they get excited again, they buy, but this time there's even less people willing to buy because fear is present in the market, so it fails a little bit earlier this time. People start to panic, it goes down even lower. You get the people who are hardcore fans, they buy it up thinking, yes, this is a great opportunity. It's a half-hearted rally because the volume is low, right? Same thing, it starts to fall, starts to falter, they panic and sell, and you finally get your capitulation event, right? And I do think this is getting ready to happen with Bitcoin. I just don't know exactly when. I think I've been early. As a bear, I think I just became a bear too early. I really think that I cost myself a lot of money becoming a bear way back in early June versus waiting to become a bear. And also, I think it cost myself money through all this chop because I was afraid to go big. Even the trades I was taking were fairly small trades. I was often cashing them out for 1% and 2% wins. I actually went back and looked at my calls, and if I would have just followed the calls on swing trades, I would have actually made about 80% in the last 2 months, which would have been incredible. But instead, I was taking these 1% and 2% day trades. So that's something that I have to dial in the future. This is a new chart. I haven't showed you guys this chart before, but this is what I think. I've been talking about this echo bubble, and I wanted to take away, not look at like memes or anything like that. I just wanted to actually show you what I think is happening. To me, it looks like what we've essentially done is we've condensed this entire 2018 bear market, right? The first 9 months of it. It looks like we've condensed that entire period into about a 2.5 month period, right? Now this is a 3-day chart so that it all fits in here, but if you look at a daily chart, it looks a little more similar, right? We have the double top, we had the big V drop with the pump, we had the big drop with the pump, right? Drop, up, right? Down, up. Then we had the purple box, we had the big drop with the pump, lower high, drop, lower high, and then this yellow box, we had another drop with another lower high. So far we've got a drop with a lower high, And then essentially what happened next was we, went sideways after this, next drop here. Price just went sideways and consolidated for a couple of months. And I think that's exactly, what might happen with Bitcoin this time as well, is that it might actually come down, depending on how high it goes here, it might actually come down, and it might consolidate a lot longer than what people think, right? Everybody's expecting this thing to go one way or the other. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it just consolidates right on that, $9,000 line. And then at the end of it, maybe it goes up higher, or maybe it follows the 2018 and maybe it finally dumps down to that that arrow's too far down. Maybe it finally dumps down to that $4,000 to $5,000 area, like we did over here. And that would actually be very similar to past bear markets. Like the 2015 bear market did this very same thing. It came down, it made a low in January of 2015, it rallied, and then 8 months later in August, it actually dumped and retested its old low, right? Wasn't exact, it got real close to it. It would basically be the equivalent of us coming down and testing like 4,200 versus 3,200, right? That would be almost a clone of what happened in 2015. So I still expect that. The price action itself, it's not going to change me to a bull just because we break an XYZ level. Now, it may change me from a bear, meaning that I may close my shorts because I can't just leave a short open and ride it forever and just keep eating losses. Not to mention, shorts are, by default, they're margin trades, which means I'm paying fees to have those trades open. Even if they're not, losing money, they're unrealized gains and unrealized losses until I close them, but I'm paying fees every single day. The fees aren't exactly a joke, right? They're hundreds of dollars a month to leave that margin open. Plus on Kraken, you can only leave it open for 28 days anyway. So this is kind of what I'm saying, right? It's a very uncomfortable time to be a bear, certainly, but I certainly would be just as uncomfortable and I would sleep just as uneasy if I was a bull right now and I was going to sleep with a bunch of Bitcoin. I would be terrified that I'd be waking up to Bitcoin that was down 10, 20, 30%. So no matter how you're playing this market right now, this is just not fun, right? It's fun from a trading point of view. Don't get me wrong. There's lots and lots of trading opportunities. Lots of them. Yesterday was a really great day for trading as far as day trading stuff goes. But as far as the bigger picture stuff, it's really just watching paint dry. We have to let this thing play out, and eventually it's going to make up its mind which way it wants to go. Me personally, I want it to go down so I can accumulate more, and I also think this is where the general public is going to get excited about Bitcoin again, and a lot of bears are going to get excited, right? Guys, I'm not alone. There's lots and lots of investors who are just like me who don't do YouTube videos. Lots of bears are waiting for their chance to strike, right? And where they strike, who knows, right? A lot of people, serious investors, they're going to be more like me. They're not going to chase this thing. If they were a bear and they sold their Bitcoin and it just goes up, they're not going to chase it down. They're not going to just be like, oh, I was wrong, I'm going to buy it back for twice what I sold it for. They're just going to move their money into a different investment. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. If I'm wrong and this thing goes up and it never retraces, that's perfectly fine. There are other investments on Earth. There are other investments in cryptocurrency. I mentioned this in my Facebook group yesterday and on Twitter. It's a very unpopular opinion, but I'm gonna share it here on YouTube. If you are FOMOing in over Bitcoin, but you're not FOMOing in over a coin like Ripple, you're probably confused, okay? And I don't mean that because I'm a Ripple fan. I'm not a Ripple fan, right? I don't like Ripple. I don't like the fact that it's centralized. I don't like the fact that it's controlled by the banks. Not that I'm a big cryptocurrency advocate in the sense of decentralization. I don't really care about any of that stuff. I don't know anything about it. But what I do know is I don't want any one agency having control over that big of a portion of the coin, right? They have all those billions of dollars in Ripple stored or whatever. But that being said, Ripple right now is sitting around 26 cents. It has far more utility than Bitcoin, right? When I want to send money from, for example, when I want to send money from Coinbase Pro to Kraken, I don't send it in Bitcoin, right? It takes way too long and the price is too volatile. I will buy Ripple XRP over in Coinbase Pro with US dollars. I'll send that XRP to Kraken and then I'll sell it. And I can send it from one place to the other in about 60 seconds, right? Much, much faster than Bitcoin. Much more utility than Bitcoin as it stands right now. It's sitting around 26 cents last I looked. Its old high was up around $3.92. So if Bitcoin goes from 10 grand to its old high, that's going to be about a double, right? 100% return, less than 100% because it's actually 10.6 right now. If Ripple goes from 26 cents to its old high, that's going to be like a 13 or 1400% return. I'm doing the math in my head. I don't know, something like that, right? 14x, 15x, something like that. So my point being, if you're brand new to cryptocurrency and you're looking at investments, which one would you rather put your money into? Would you be buying the $10,000 coin, or would you be buying the 26-cent coin? You have to ask yourself how new investors look at it. Again, this is the reason I'm bearish, okay? And I'm just using Ripple as an example. Stellar, I think it's 5 or 6 cents. It used to be 92 cents, right? I actually bought Stellar at 3 cents. I wrote it all up to 92 cents. It was amazing, right? I didn't sell it. I was an idiot, okay? But new people are going to see that. They're going to be like, wow, I can buy this coin for 5 or 6 cents, and it used to be 92 cents. I'm going to do that. They're not going to buy Bitcoin for 10 grand and think, oh, it might go back up to 20. I might double my money. They're going to buy the coin where they might make 10, 15, 20x. And you might be saying, yeah, but James, those alts probably aren't going to come back. They might not, but they don't know that. New people entering this space don't understand that. It's a lottery to them, right? It is a lottery ticket. They're getting in thinking that it's automatically going to go to old highs. And it doesn't help the fact that people on Twitter act like that. They talk like that, right? They talk about how these alts are down so far and they have to come back and we have to have an alt season. Well, newsflash, we don't ever have to have an alt season. It is completely possible that alts just simply go away. And that, it's like the tech bubble. If you were alive during the tech bubble, if you were an adult during the tech bubble, you'll remember this. There was tons and tons of tech stocks, and people started throwing money at it like it was, like there was no tomorrow. And then that bubble popped. And when it started to reinflate a second time on its echo bubble, people started doing the same thing. They started thinking that it was going to go to all-time highs, blah, blah, blah. But what actually happened was a few companies rose from the ashes, became the Amazons of the world, and most companies went bust. And I think altcoins are going to be very similar. I think most of the altcoins are probably going to go bust. I think they're going to become dead projects, just like the hundreds of altcoins before. And I think there will be a few winners that become the go-to coins, right? Picking those winners going to be very difficult to do. But, that's my point. New investors coming in this space, they don't want the $10,000 coin that might double. They want the 1 cent or the 2 cent coin that might go up 50x or 100x. So with all that being said, if I miss Bitcoin, that's exactly what I'll be doing. I'll be looking for alts, right? I will be looking for the Ethereums, the coins that are going to go from 30 cents to $1,500. I'll be looking for the OMGs, the coin that came out for 50 cents and were $28 a few months later. I'll be looking for the Stellars, the coin that was, you could buy it in August of 2017 for less than a penny. It was 92 cents less than 4 months later, right? 100x return. Those are the type of investments I'm going to be looking for if Bitcoin doesn't come back down and act the way an investment or an asset should. If it just keeps acting stupid and just keeps going up on this parabolic climb, I have no interest in buying, $50,000 worth of freaking Bitcoin. That might become $10,000 when I go to sleep at night. It's never going to happen. And like I said, most people, most rational investors, they're going to be the same way, right? Other than people who are FOMOing in, they're not going to be comfortable with this at all. With all that being said, please remember I am literally some guy sitting in a spare bedroom. I'm not a professional financial advisor. I'm not your financial advisor. Nothing in this video is financial advice or trade advice. You should always do your own due diligence and seek out professional investment advice before making any type of investment in cryptocurrency. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure and give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also, don't forget you can check the description for links where you can follow me on TradingView, Twitter, and also where you can join my free Facebook group. This is James with Crypto Common Sense. Trade safe.